Good evening, Super League. For the first time this season, we are into double figures in game weeks, and that means it's about the time where form becomes a little bit more serious and we start to be making decisive judgments about teams, whether they will flop or not. Joining me tonight to make that judgment alongside us is the man who has taken the Gazelles to a more solid and cemented stable position than they have been for a lot of years under various different stewardship. We have got Dan the man. Dan, how you doing, lad? You all right?
Yeah, good, thanks, mate. Yeah, evening, everyone. Yeah.
Good weekend?
Yeah, not too bad. Didn't do a lot, but yeah, good.
Happy days. And I understand there's a bit of construction work going on in the Casa Dan Haines at the minute.
Yeah, there is. So yeah, you'll be glad to know the kitchen isn't moving, so that's still here. But yeah, they're building an extra bit out the back at the moment, and our house is just a building site, so everything is dusty and sandy. So yeah.
Are we still good for the after show season party in your kitchen at the end of the season, mate? Yeah.
Still good? Go for it. Yeah, but as we discussed off thing, I think I'm the furthest away from everybody. So, but more than welcome. Yeah, go for it.
Definitely. In a few words, mate, how are you judging the Gazelle season so far?
Up and down, I think, is the best description. I don't think we've been that great this year. I think we were a lot better last year. But yeah, as I said, we sit fourth, so that's pretty good. Tonight's an interesting one, though. It's a bit of a free hit, I think. So yeah, hopefully get something out of it. That'd be nice. We've got quite a good record against them. So.
Yeah. And in terms of the wider league, anything that kind of jumps out to you? Anything you kind of want to pass comment on?
No, obviously, as we said, Burn flying, Coast doing well, and then everybody else is around there, really, isn't it? There's not a lot between many others, to be honest. I thought Celtics would be going a bit better. I talked to Greaves at the start of the season. He seemed to have quite a strong setup, way he was going to play, and then he seemed to do something different. But I think he has just started going back to what he was going to do at the start of the season. So, yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. It doesn't take long for those kind of big plans to unravel when it's going bad. So not unusual for someone to kind of tear it up and start again. We're going to start nice and early tonight with what I think is one of the games of the night, to be honest. It is Vikings against Haggis. Vikings, who have been in pretty decent form, bought a 0-1 defeat to East Coast, which is no shame, really. What have you made of Vikings this season? Anything you like within the squad?
Yeah, I like the setup. I kind of tipped them to do quite well at the start of the season. Jens told me I was wrong and it was never going to happen, but they're going all right. I think that's a strong side in it from front to back, really.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. Absolutely. I think Jens is probably the only person who could compete with Maka for like eternal pessimism.
yeah,
Definitely don't fancy himself ever, and the same with Maka. On to Haggis, who I think have got the kind of the makings of something really special here. The last 3 or 4 games, for me, they've been the worst side, but actually they're undefeated and they've picked up points in the face of some real adversity. And I think I mentioned it on text a few weeks back. I think that's when you kind of know that a squad's got something amongst it. Now under the kind of guardianship of Rox, who's been a massive part of this community for a long time, with Campbell still having the kind of veto, should it needs be. But anything on Haggis this season, Dan?
yeah, very strong, and they shouldn't concede many like that. I'm a bit disappointed because he talked to me about Deisler, and I was like, he's not going to get a game for me. And he was like, "Oh, you're happy with the cash deal?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I don't think you'll play him that much." And then he's been absolutely brilliant for him. So that's my fault, that one.
Yeah. I don't know who kind of gets the credit for Deisler, and I know, to be fair, Campbell is pretty fair on saying where Rox gets the credit and where he gets the credit. But I would have never in a million years have started Sebastian Deisler on the right wing in Super League, and he's been really good.
Yeah,
If unspectacular, but just good.
he started for me at the beginning of last season and did nothing for about 8 games, and I got him out of there, and he never played again. He's got him going straight away. So. Yeah.
Absolutely. First game of the night. I think this could be potentially the game of the night really early on. Any predictions from you, Dan?
I reckon a score draw here.
Score draw. All right. Hopefully with a lot of action going on. Early chance for Vikings. A lot of red and blue there with a foul on Desai. Amoroso skipping forward, and Daniel Jimenez, who's been called back up to the main squad. And there is Amoroso, again, another one of those underrated players who is doing a job for Haggis. Amoroso again with a break. 2 inside 15 minutes or so, and Haggis are going in at half time. Amoroso with a hat trick. Davy Collins is offside. Just seen a comment from Rox in the comments saying that if Davy Collins doesn't do anything, then he's getting binned off. He's just cost Amoroso. Very rare hat trick. Haggis absolutely bullying Vikings there in terms of passes, headers, and tackles. Anything standing out for you there, Dan, at half time?
Yeah, as we said, very strong, aren't they? What are the two? What are the three? So yeah, 2 of them on 9s, and then they're always going to be strong. They're always going to win a lot in there.
Yeah, can't imagine that Rox and Campbell will be doing much at half time there. Vikings, plenty Kosa. Jens has had his massive struggles with keepers over the seasons, really, to be fair, not just this season. And there's a struggle in there. Go not doing well on the wing. And I think knowing Jens, will probably make a move. Anything you'd be doing, kind of seeing the lineups for the two sides here for Vikings?
I think he'll probably, as he's 2 down, he'll probably push the wing backs up and maybe put Robin out into Gore's place and then extra Barrier on. I should imagine will be the change.
Yeah,
or try and match him up and drop Addo back into DMC and go 4 across there.
Yeah, all that makes sense. I think if it was me, I'd be going Robin for Gore on the left, push them 2 up, and then go 2 up top with ZZ Roberts and Totti in behind, I think. But yeah, Haggis in total control. So Jens and Campbell, let me know if you want to do anything here, boys, at 45, and we'll keep an eye on the comments. This would be, I think it would be 5 or 6 unbeaten for Haggis, and would really see them kind of picking up some proper momentum in the league. Just gonna give it a couple of seconds because I'm not seeing any comments coming through. Are you seeing anything coming through subs wise, Dan?
No, Jens has just complained about his keeper, and Haggis saying impressive 45. Rox said stick until 60.
Lovely, excellent. Cheers, Rox. And I'm going to give Jens a little bit more time because I think when you're 2-0 down at half time, there we go, and they've just came through. I was just about to say I wouldn't blame him for just taking a bit of time. So go for ZZ, swap with Robin, so he goes LM, push wing backs up the wing with Addo for Hosiba, and I'm guessing 2 up, Jens. Or you want the 2 AMs?
She said 2-1-4-3.
2-1-4. Okay, so he's going like that. Totti, Arrow. 2-1-4-3. Totti and Walker CM. Totti, Arrow centrally. Hosiba right striker. not to be picky ends, but these things matter. Diagonal or straight? You can just let me know. Totti this season, I thought he was going to do absolute wonders. He's been solid, if unspectacular. What's your kind of thoughts on him as an MC, Dan?
I think he's one of the players. I think he is good, but because he can play so many different positions, he kind of fills in whenever somebody's needed. Whereas I think if you just leave him somewhere, then you're going to get better out of him.
And a bit of a talisman for Vikings over the last couple of seasons. He gets the book in there. Let's see if he can do anything for him. It all feels a little bit Haggisy, who look really, really solid at home this season. 53 minutes gone with a free kick. Amoroso amongst it again. Justin Walker and Totti is just lining up a free kick as we hit 60 minutes. Rox, if you let me know what you want to do. Condition looks absolutely solid. And your ratings look fairly solid here. You know what they say when you're 2-0 up, the next goal is absolutely massive. Are you doing anything if you're Haggis here?
No, I think he sticks. I think he sticks here. He's, like you say, all ratings are good. Everybody's playing well.
Yeah, just a litany of sixes for the Vikings there. Nobody massively stinking the place out, but you just get the impression that we're going to see that that same tactic in terms of headers and passes and tackles. We've just been absolutely bullied. There's your man Deisler coming off for Figo.
He must be the most sub player, and Figo comes on every game for him.
Yeah, and that's the thing. They've got players that are just coming in and doing a job. Really, really solid. Just leave them shite. Okay, Jens has kind of written it off. Let's see if anything happens. A couple of times this season where Jens has both lost a 2-0 lead and came back from 2-0 down. Amoroso in search of that hat-trick. Again, Jimenez there, 3-0. And I think that was the keeper shouting at the defence. We'll not slow this down because I think it's probably a done deal already. Cannavaro trying to get it.
Big win.
Yeah, massive, especially when they're probably, two teams that are looking to be the best of the rest after Burn and probably Coast, to be fair. Some 10s there. Okoronkwo on a 10, Amoroso on a 10. And I'm guessing that'll probably just be a straight swap for Ashley Lythe.
Yeah.
Gents, I'll just I'll just give it a second so you can confirm. Rio Ferdinand having a stormer at the back with Okoronkwo. I know there was potential question marks over whether Haggis would pursue both of those this season as starters. We're looking across the league for some centre half, some big names, but absolutely nothing to be answered for when you've scored 3 and kept a clean sheet for Haggis. Sorry, I missed Rock saying Lythe on there. Too busy chatting absolute nonsense. Another chance for Haggis as we get to the final whistle, and probably one of the most comprehensive wins this season. I think we've seen from the home side.
Yeah, look at that.
Yeah, headers came down slightly second half, but that was very impressive from Haggistan.
Yeah, very impressive, and 3 DMCs doing the job again. So
yeah. And over to Rox just said Cannavaro with an epic run there. He's probably been arguably the Vikings' most creative player this season. That's a tough one to take. Yeah, he has a chip against Dragons, I think, as well. That's a tough one to take, Jens. Totti kind of not doing his magic, and Robin flopping a little bit at the minute, but I'm sure you'll get a tune out of him, and then Penza. So well done, Haggis. First win of the night. We go now to Fulchester United versus PPP. Was disturbed at about 11 p.m. last night by a missed FaceTime call from Phoenix and Maka, who I think were having a great time over in Germany in some sort of debauched bar. Fittingly, Ryan's Bordney's playing about now. I think he said 9:15, and this is how the Phoenix go. Big game this for Phoenix tonight, considering they've been on a pretty poor run. 3 defeats in 4. What do you make of their tactic here tonight?
I quite like the tactic. It's kind of similar to what we do. He's got the strikers there, hasn't he? They should get goals out of Vieira, Crespo, and then Batstuta. Yeah, should be enough there. Nedved, I think he played in AMC last game against us. I couldn't get anything out of him when I was testing him at AMC. That's why he ended up kind of middle of a 3 for me. But yeah, should do all right. That's a good side. That's a good squad, isn't it? That Colchester squad.
Yeah, just having a little look. I think the thing that stands out for me is goals conceded. They conceded 13 goals, a bit like Dragons and Astor, but actually, I'm not quite sure who's going to be your guy to go in alongside Stam there. And as he probably hasn't really got a top tier DMC to sit there and do the dirty work.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
Over now to everybody's favourite club. I think everybody's second team is the maniac that is Rob Sloth, who I think definitely haven't been as bad as people expected this season. But actually, if you look at that run of results, they've had 4 defeats in 5, with a 2-0 win last time out against Astor Athletic. What do you make this PPP side?
I quite like it. They were brilliant last week, weren't they? Wednesday night against Astor. They never looked in trouble, controlled it. And Astor have been a tricky side. They come and turn us over without too much hassle. So he's got a good side there. It's a couple of really good players.
Yeah, they were the better side against Bostock, and I think, is this the game where Rob said if we had Alan Smith we would have won, because I think they were starting punt on. Yeah. So Alan Smith starts tonight. And we'll see how they get on. Baldini comes in from Celtics. Any prediction here for red versus blue?
I fancy Colchester, I think. Only by 1, though.
Okay, I think certainly it would probably, Southgate early doors, but it's disallowed. I think Ryan would probably be a little bit worried if PPP were to take 3 points off them tonight. And I think he'd be well aware of some of the abuse that he would probably be getting from Rob, who has been at the Barbers after Rocks made him feel like a tiny man with a fringe. PPP with a little bit of pressure, and there is Javier Zanetti, probably one of the best deals ever in transfer Super League history, and he repays the faith the manager shows in him. Shevchenko up top, Stam with a volley on the other side. Crespo clean through on goal, has a pot shot saved by Molina. There is Alan Smith, and it's a penalty, and it's only a yellow for Zanetti, and there is Hassan Salihamidzic, who you probably wouldn't have as a penalty taker, and a load of injury time gets us to half time with both teams scoring and one apiece. Bit of a difficult one to follow in terms of who was on top there in the text, Dan.
Yeah, from the text, you would have said that PPP had quite a good half there, but chances didn't show for that. And they were 1 down for quite a bit of it. But Rob will be happy though. 1-1 at half time, he'll take that. Yeah,
I'm just having a quick look. Ryan has sent us sub instructions and none of them apply there, so we can just go straight over to Mr. Sloth, the people's champion and the champion of the wheel. Have you got over that wheel debauchery from last year?
Oh, no, that's, I had to sit the cup out this year. Just couldn't cope.
Yeah, just needed some Camellia lotion on them burns. It hurt too much.
Yeah.
We'll see what Rob does. I really like this combination of Emerson and Ambrosini. I've hassled them loads for both of them this season, but actually they're not really doing what they're in there to do, which is control games. Never really seen PPP on top of any games this season. So it'll be interesting to see if he hangs on to them this season. Brozek comes back in. They'll vet you on for Brozek, so he's not back in for too long.
Yeah, I like Ambrosini. He's definitely does more than a job in there.
Solid, isn't he?
Very good.
Yeah, Richie Wellens on the bench, which is an absolute disgrace, as we all know. And we roll to 60. Who's your money on for this next goal, Dan?
PPP are going for it at the moment. Oh, that's gonna hurt.
Yeah, that's massive. That's massive. So I think we've got to go. Who's the worst of the two strikers? Probably has to go. I suppose a point wouldn't be a bad thing from him from here. So we're going to go Vieri for Prutton.
Yeah.
And we're going to do that.
I wonder if he'd go for Southgate at DMC, because he kept talking about that, didn't he?
Say that again?
He kept talking about Southgate at DMC, didn't he, for ages?
He did. He's never done it though, has he? Yeah. So we'll do that. We'll try and keep your shape a little bit, and we'll roll up. Hang on, Rob, you get to respond if you want. Nelly forgot that again. Rob, let me know if you want to change in response. I always forget about that red card response change. Roll, please. Lovely. Okay, excellent. Let's get to 60. There's been some mad performances this season with people with 9 and 10 men. Probably the right man to be on comms and talk about. I think you played better with 9 and 10 than you have with 11 all season.
Yeah, definitely. With the 9, we were brilliant.
You were, yeah. Was it 2-0 or 2-1 or something? Was it 2-0? Yeah. So we get to 60 minutes. Vincent Candela, or was it Candela? I think I got slaughtered for it on commentary the other week. Is playing a 10. Just whether or not Smith can put away some of the chances he's no doubt supplying to him. There's his match ratings, and there is the conditioning. Rob, I know you said roll please all the way, but we'll just have a little look
as is
and see if as is. Lovely, excellent. And we'll just have a quick look at Fulchester for when Ryan watches this back. And we're not going to do anything to rock the apple cart there. Where's this one going?
I think Fulchester will now look to hold on and, PPP, see what they can do.
Candela amongst it again with Alan Smith with another chance. We're getting to 70 minutes, but we will slow this down if it stays 1-1. Oh, and there is the goal. Andriy Shevchenko puts PPP 2-1 up. Let's slow it down just a little bit. And we'll see what happens for these last 5 minutes. Emerson now continues. Salihamidzic with a strike to add to his first half penalty, but doesn't quite find the back of the net. Candela again, who's been massive in the game. Let's see that 10 carries to full time. Smith with another chance, but doesn't put it away. And there is a pretty big win for PPP. Even game, not too much.
Be happy with that.
Yeah, and that is it. They'll be dancing in the streets of Pyongyang tonight. Vincent Candela with a man of the match performance and has done wonders there for Rob. Anything else jumping out at you from that PPP performance?
I was never a fan of Shevchenko as AMC, but he seems to be getting stuff out of him at the moment, doesn't he? So that's good.
Yeah, and it looks as though for all the kind of first half around Ambrosini and Emerson, it looks as though they have actually stopped a little bit of the flow of the ball to those guys up top who have only put in sixes. And probably for the first time in a long time, Ryan may be just putting himself under a little bit of scrutiny in terms of the way he's approached the season or his plans for next steps. So next game is we're gonna swerve White Rose and Badgers because Tato's having a little bit of a nightmare with getting the kids down. So we're going to go Bostock Dragons. We'll get that out of the way. Swan, brand new to the league this season, having been in a similar position a couple of seasons ago. Dan, how do you think he's taken to it so far?
I think he's finding his way now, and he had a couple of poor results, and then he seems to start to turn it around a bit now. The Larson signing seems absolutely brilliant. He's been great for him since he's come in. This player I like as well. I think last year somebody was saying that you don't play him at AMC. I've never played him anywhere else. That's the only place I've ever played him. So.
Yeah, and I think he was a player that Dimble thought really, really highly of in terms of getting the trade done. And Swan, I think, is probably up there with doing the best of new managers that we've had in a while. Dragons, we go back to the team that put 3 past Casuals and 4 past Asta, and the logic being that I'm sick of trying to get DMCs to play MC in the formation where we went on that run last year. So I've kind of had to swallow my pride a little bit and put in with 2 DMs and just hope that Bosvelt can control the game a little bit. This is game week 10, and this is where the Dragons kind of came to life a little bit last season. So not that I'm optimistic at all, but we'll see what happens tonight. Any predictions for this one?
It's another close game, and it's a couple of tight ones already, but I think Dragons might sneak it.
Yeah, we've had reds, we've had 5s from keepers, and we've had 10s so far. So let's just see. And there is Vincent Montella, who puts Bostock Stanley 1-0 up already early doors. Can't hold on to it, but they do clear it. Constantino in acres of space, but doesn't put it away. There is Lizarazu, former Bostock player, who scores to put Dragons 1s each. Massive for both sides, this, because it does cut them probably both adrift, definitely from that top 4 or 5. If any team loses tonight in a draw, you probably think that a draw isn't going to do either of them any good, but a win would probably put them back into the mix. And there is Lizarazu with a brace against these former sides. Dragons coming back from 1-0 down to win 2-1 going into the half. But let's see all that attacking talent from Bostock. Can they do anything before the half time? And they can't. And I thought Bostock started the first half an hour looking like the better side, but the stats probably say a little bit otherwise there, Dan.
Yeah, I would have said by the text that was a lot more even than it looks there. what's it? 9 for a centre back. 8 in there for Gerrard as well.
Yeah, those two centre backs have been class for Bostock this season. I don't think many would have had the pairing. Jorovic was an out of league signing, and Yepes, I think the league split 50-50 on what people think really. We've got Lizarazu doing a Vincent Candaya impression, Ugo not doing much, and Nesta doing bits there. But Hagen, I think he's been great as an out of league this season. I think he's definitely been a little bit of a find. So shout out to Wooder. 3-4-3. So we're going to go 3, 4, 3. Is that what you're rocking with, Swan? Just let us know that you're happy with that. He's went a little bit Mike Savage here, Dan, hasn't he?
Yeah, I was going to say no arrows. No, I think
that's it.
M2 wingers need arrows on, don't they? Boomer and Dyer, you definitely get.
Swan, can you just confirm by Bauma LW you don't mean that and you mean that? Is that okay, mate? I just don't want to get it wrong, especially with you playing Dragons as well. If you just post, I know you've said that's it, but if you just confirm that is it, that would be great, mate. That would be fantastic. And we could be in for a big 45 for both sides, really. This will put Dragons level with Bostock, which doesn't feel right given how good Bostock have been and how poor Dragons have been, to be honest. I'll come back to you, Swan, if you just confirm that that's good. We'll just have a quick look. I think we'll do 4 for Tudor, and that'll be it, I think. And hope that one of those centre halves don't get a red, because that's kind of been the story of our season. Swanee, I'm guessing, is watching on mute and he can't hear us, so he hasn't said anything else. So we'll just see how this goes. There you go. So half time, Dragons a third. There we go. There we go. Brilliant. Almost right on cue. There is the story.
Just getting back as well.
The story of Dragons season. Alessandro Nesta, who's only played 6 games out of 10, and Lee Boyer, who's only played 5 games out of 10, and Dyer, who's played 1 game out of 10, is going to be again not playing. What are we going to do here? I think we've got to take Maniero off. I think we've got to go Liam Pugh into there, and I think we've got to do that and hope for the best. Swanee, I know you can't hear comms, mate, but you do get the chance to make a red change. Red change, Swan. He hasn't got the volume on, I think, when he's watching. So just hang on. What would you be doing here if you were Swan, Dan?
What's he got on the bench? Is that Elbow on the bench? Yeah.
As is. And he goes as is until 60. Here come Bostock forward now with the extra man. Montella has a shot. Looks a little bit... Oh, who was that? Constantino. I didn't even see that. 3-1 and a yellow for Bosfeld. And we now get to 63 minutes. We'll have a little bit of a look. That red card for Ugo is really worrying, but I cannot do anything without fucking up the system. So we'll go as is. Swanee, if you just let me know if you want to do anything on 63 minutes. Kind of cut across you there, Dan, when you said what's he got on the bench. Anything you'd be doing from here?
Yeah, is that Elbow on the bench at the bottom there?
Yes.
Yeah.
Elbow from Lawson, maybe, would you be doing, or for Robbie Keane?
Yeah, I might pull one back into AMC as well. I'm never sure on 3 up top, but I genuinely likes his stats, so he'll probably know how many times putting 3 up top actually brings you something. So.
Yeah, I think there's only ever one person that I've ever seen get 3. Lawson and Keane. Swan, which one? You can't tell me. Lawson and Keane on 6s. And that's Rob Sloth, and that was probably, to be fair, 3/4 of a season, and then it went tits up. So I'm not a massive believer. Dan, he's saying any. Who do you want off, Lawson or Keane?
Keane's done well for him, hasn't he? So I suppose it's Lawson, isn't it? Lawson
off. There we go. And we roll until the end. Big goal from a big Super League player, says Joseph Wooder. Again, it's a lot of red and white. Dragons have really got to hold on. And there is Ronaldinho. And the idea with this tactic was to try and score, we have, because we don't keep clean sheets and we don't keep 10 men on the pitch very often. And that is full time. And Dragons have ran out 4-1 winners with another Nesta red card, which is his third of the season, I believe. Any thoughts there, Dan?
Yeah, it's another big result, isn't it? Some big results already tonight. Yeah, Dragons very good. Bostock will be disappointed with that. I thought they could have got something out of that, but especially with the 10 men and losing Nesta.
It doesn't look like a massively kind of bad performance from them.
You wouldn't look at it and think 4-1, would you?
Yeah, no. I think Dragons have probably just taken the chances, which was what we did quite a lot last season, but haven't done it much this season. Lizarazu goes back to his old club and gets 2 goals and a man of the match. And Horgan with an assist there. That is big for us. That so unlucky Swan, mate. Big result for us. That Tato, if you would let me know if you're good for yours now, because we've only got a few games left, mate. So we're going to go with Celtics versus Casuals, and brace yourself, Dan. What do you think of that?
He's going for it, isn't he? He obviously thinks he can score goals. He's obviously expecting. I haven't seen Celtics line up, but he's obviously expecting them to go 4 at the back, and he's gone for it. But yeah, Z Roberto that high up, it's interesting. Hersey and Cassano will be fine. Yeah, going for it.
I'm just checking messages. Hodgie hasn't named the captain, and the captain from his previous game was Turam. So Hodgie, if you're about, let us know. You'll skipper if you're asked. Dan, who are you going skipper?
Buffon, isn't it?
Respond.
Buffon's influence 20, isn't he? I can't remember.
So what I'll do is I'll just duck out of there and we'll just go into Celtics and we'll come back to Hodgie to just give him some time. And almost equally as batshit for me, game decides. Thanks, Hodgie, mate. Almost as equally as batshit for a number of reasons. One being that Edgar Davids doesn't start, and 2 being that Kevin Phillips is up top. What do you think of this Celtics side?
It shouldn't concede goals, should it? But is it going to score any? That's your issue. Kevin Phillips, decent on the game, but good enough in the Super League. Not sure. He's got Trezeguet, hasn't he?
Yes, he has. And obviously Del Piero, who's not playing as well, who's been massive for him. Yeah. I know Greavesy was struggling to kind of get in tonight because of a kind of change in his work patterns and stuff. So what we'll do is we'll just crack on, and if he pops up and says that he specifically wants a keeper, we'll change it. I think, again, this is a big game. More interestingly, I think, because of the 2 formations. Who do you think is going to come out on top here, Dan?
If Casuals don't get something out of this, that's going to be interesting, isn't it? With that formation.
Yeah.
But has he played into Greaves' hands by doing it? That's the question.
Yeah, it's almost like Greaves has got the 2 banks of 4, and that AM line is totally free for Casuals. So you'd think that those 4 across the and who's that off? Is that Vrede coming off? Vrede. So what is he doing here? He's probably going Pancaro for Fiore and Babel centre half.
Babel centre half, yeah. Pancaro to right back, yeah. And Fiore or Gattuso, isn't it?
I know he loves Gattuso.
Yeah.
So I think Greavesy, if you're about, mate, just let us know. Hodgie, if you've got the volume on, mate, if you can just let us know really quickly if you want to do a red change, or if you don't, or if you're fine with letting it roll.
Rock says Phillips off, surely.
that would be a very Greavesy thing to do, wouldn't it? Get Phillips off and play with 9 up top, false 6, 7, 8, I think, rather than a false 9. I think, Dan, if you agree, in the absence of Greavesy, knowing how much he loves Gattuso, I think we've got to go Pancaro for Fiore and go like that.
Yeah, maybe central Gattuso, do you think?
Or that.
Yeah, I reckon.
Yeah, let's do that. That makes sense. You had 2 MCs. We're going to have 1 very central MC, and Hodgie is confirming that he's fine to go without a change. Cheers, Hodgie. Appreciate it, mate. D'accord with the yellow. I think Decor is probably another player who's had a couple of red cards this season. I think he's had 2 at least. We get the half time, nothing much happens, which is probably not very surprising given the 2 formations. And actually, the match stats are saying that Celtics have done better there than we previously would have thought with 10 men. We kind of analysed that just before the half time, so we're not going to spend too much time, especially in Greaves' absence, having a look. Hodgie, I'm guessing, is probably going to make changes here, Dan.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, actually. Yeah.
And just in terms of action zones, those 2 formations really aren't telling us anything. Looks very, very, very as you'd expect from most games, actually, in the match engine. Hodgie, if you just let us know if you want to do anything. 3 for D'accord already. Yeah, I think he's up there with Nesta and Boya in terms of, not that I want to sound like a broken record, mate, or make excuses for how shit we've been. But I think he's been up there in terms of the most red-carded player. Wouldn't surprise us if Hodgie pulls back Zambrotto and Roberto, maybe sticks a bigger arrow on and goes 2 up with Hersey in behind. I think that feels a little bit more conventional, do you reckon?
Yeah, that's what I'd be doing, yeah. I'm not sure on Veron and MC on his own, though, but he can play anywhere, can't he? He played up front last week, so...
Yeah, it's weird. I think you could almost hold like a forum on how to get the best out of Veron, because I think Maka used him in a very specific way. I think Stee used him in a very specific way. When we had him 3 or 4 seasons ago at Dragons, we had him in there on like a kind of free role as an MC. But I don't think he's ever been massively spectacular other than when he was at Fulchester and they kind of finished top, I think. I'm not seeing anything coming through from Hodgie. Dan, are you?
He's just also doing drop AML and AMR to ML and MR. Yeah, so as we thought, yeah.
There we go. And I'm guessing with the arrows, yeah.
Yep.
Lovely, excellent. And we will roll to 60. Again, pink and green, which is not as vulgar as Vikings and Dragons in terms of reading it, but I think it's definitely the weirdest kit we have. And is that a penalty? Is that a penalty for Celtics?
Yeah.
So I think what we'll probably do is we let that penalty be taken, because I think that then determines what people do with 60 minutes, to be fair. And that is 1-0 to the Celtics, who look fairly solid.
Yeah,
with this kind of,
like we've said, teams play better with 9 and 10. Perhaps that's the key.
Yeah, it has been a bit of a trend this season, to be fair, though, hasn't it? You know, really, really has stood out how well teams with the lesser sides, the lesser men have played out. Hodgie is probably going to do something batshit here. I think I can feel him just going fuck it and put the 5 up top. Yeah, what would you be doing here, Dan?
What's he got on the bench?
Claudio Lopez there, probably for...
Lopez has got to come on, hasn't he?
Yeah, I think pushing these into the middle, I think probably happens, and maybe Cassano for Lopez and either 2 up or 2 EMs is probably what you want. Just haven't created enough, I think.
No, I think he probably thought he was going to have a lot of the ball and create some chances here, but Celtics have done exactly what Greaves wanted. He'll watch this back tomorrow and be like, "Yep, that's exactly what I wanted." So,
yeah, I think we'll probably, if it stays like this, we'll probably see a Jose Mourinho gift getting posted probably around about 5 a.m. tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
Hodgie, just let me know if you want an arrow on Hersey. That looks fairly sensible. I thought he might have maybe swapped the core and Soroczynski round and went for the 4 across the middle to kind of try and control it a little bit, but that looks fairly solid. No arrow. Thank you very much, mate. Appreciate it. So it is Celtics. This will be a massive, massive win given how they're rooted at the bottom of the table, and would also put the pressure on the likes of Rose, who've got the game coming up. We jump to 86 minutes with nothing happening, and there is another yellow card for Olivier Decor. And it's his 4th of the season, I think. So I'll not sound like a broken record and go over that again, and the company joins himself in. But I'm guessing it's just Soroczynski over there. And Hodgie, if there's anything else you want doing, just let me know. Greavesy would obviously get a response, but he's not here, so we're just going to roll as is. I suppose. Excellent. Cheers, Tato, mate. I appreciate that. It is a free kick to Celtics, who are probably just going to do a classic logo Boston and try and run the clock down. Buffon with a save. Sylvester trying to start things from the back. Celtics regain possession. Lopez offside. Veron here. Haven't seen his name much at all in the text. And there was Tomati with a shot just flashed wide. Both sides end up with 10, but one side ends up with the goal that decides it. And that is a massive, massive win in the context of the league, but also the stories of season so far, with Celtics winning 1-0 against, for me, a very strong Casuals side. Anything standing out for you there in terms of the Celtics?
A very strong one, a very good performance. That's what he's been waiting for, I think. All season he's been saying, it's coming, trust it. And I think he's got it right tonight. Absolutely spot on.
Yeah, and I know I can see kind of Tato chirping up about long live four at the back. I know Tato was definitely egging Greavesy on for a long time to play four at the back, because I think they had conversations about the fact that Greavesy wanted to play four at the back, but then it actually took him until about game week 8 or 9 to do it. So yeah, and there is Casuals, which a kind of bitty performance, doesn't look too bad, but just not really supplying Clivert with enough service to do anything of interest. Well done, Greavesy, and unlucky Hodgie, and cheers for being so quick in your comments on the subs and stuff, Hodgie. I appreciate that. This, I think, is a really interesting game. Badgers against White Rose. I think for a number of reasons. Badgers are just starting to show some form, and as they do around about this time of the season, where they start to put a push on for the dotted line. And Steve said it himself that after that Celtics result is probably going to see him bottom tonight. He's almost just looking as though he could be starting to get cut away a little bit. So this could really determine game week 10. Around about 35% of the games played. This is a massive, massive game. Badgers have been good this season, Dan, do you think?
Yeah, they have been good. I think Tato's done well. He's resisted himself, hasn't he, to do anything too crazy. He stuck with it. He made some un-Tato transfers, didn't he, to bring in some big players, and it's working for him at the moment. So.
And I think in terms of the deals, the big deals were actually between these two clubs. So I think Dyer went one way, Samwell went the other. So this is actually Nicky Butt went the other way as well. So these are the two sides that probably have, gave the other side their ammunition for better or for worse in terms of how they did this season. Would you be cashing in on Imo?
Same minute with Veron playing that MC role. I'm not sure. If I played him, I'd probably put him in one of the two, either side of my central one. But yeah, there'll be takers for him, won't they? Absolutely.
Yeah, I think people would, there's certain, that MC role is so hard to fill in the league, and I think there are people that would make big offers for Imar, just too many 20s to turn down. I think what I said the other week, which is I think is a really, really good point. On to White Rose now, who I genuinely do think have been the unluckiest side this season. They absolutely battered Haggis last game and ended up conceding fairly late on with a Medina wonder strike and losing kind of 2 points from a winning position. Anything kind of to write home about White Rose this season? Do you think they've been unlucky? Have they been poor?
They've been unlucky. I looked at the start of the season, once I saw his transfers, because he took Pizarro off me, which was a massive gamble for me, and so far it hasn't paid off. But he hasn't really done it for him either, so not too worried about that one. But yeah, there's a good side there, isn't there? There's a good 11 that should be doing.
I mean, this was the first game of the season. That for me, that DM line and that MC is absolutely class. Not sold at both ends of the pitch, and that is how they go tonight, which looks really strange, but actually you can see it's probably in direct response to him not scoring enough, sacrificing them DMLs, getting them further forward, playing the two up top. So for all it hasn't really went well, you can see that this is Steve really trying to find something that works. Any predictions from you, Dan?
White Rose should win it, but I can just see Badgers doing it. 2-1.
I fancy White Rose to get a result here, I think. But early doors, it's a lot of blue and black. Perry with a yellow card. This looks a little bit Badgers heavy early doors in the first 15 minutes. Yellow card for Ruud van Nistelrooy, who's been solid, if unspectacular. We raced the 40 minutes. Vlahovic in there. I'll be happy with a massive, massive save. And Tony tries to kill one over just before half time. And it's probably the second game on the bounce that just cancels each other out. Tato posted it before kickoff. He said they're dull, we're dull. Will probably be a 0-0, I think, and it looks that way at the minute. Nothing to write home about there, Dan?
No, just average around. Interesting that Fermani's getting a game over Gladiola. I think I'd be switching them to.
Yeah, I think so as well. But I think Fermani did it did a good job for him last season, I think it was, or it might have been in a previous iteration as well. Brought him in as an outer league, and that again is all too similar from White Rose. The kind of front three just really not getting amongst it and not getting enough shots off rather. But that DM line looking fairly solid. Kaladze, former Badgers player, seems to be the person putting himself about in that DM line. Tato going as is, and no word yet from Stee. Santa Cruz, Jordic, and Johnson looks a fairly weak bench, Dan.
Yeah, I think he's got. I think one of his problems is he's got almost too many good players, and he doesn't want to leave any of them out, which means he goes for that a lot up front. And I don't know.
Yeah, I think probably if you think about it, you're only ever really going to play a maximum of 2 DMs unless you play in that system that Haggis plays. You've got Kaladze, you've got GVB, and you've got Vieira, and then you've got Ronnie Johnson as well. Probably a DM too heavy, I think, I would say. And you could probably cash in for a decent AMC, like top AMC. AMC, sorry. There is the White Rose stats as we get to 60 minutes, and nothing happened for the best part of nearly 21 minutes. And what are you doing here if you're Stee?
He can't change much on the bench, can he? Yeah, I think he's just got to stick unless he goes free up top and pushes Raul up front on the left. But we've talked about free up top, haven't we? So.
Yeah, and I know Steve isn't really a fan of it. It wouldn't surprise us if he goes Raul in there, Jorovic in there, or Santa Cruz, and 2 AMCs behind Pizarro. We'll just hop over to Tato while we're waiting for Steve to let us know what he's doing. Some fairly solid ratings there. Kamuna, who I think has been absolutely fantastic since Tato brought him in a couple of seasons ago. And there's his conditions. I'd be surprised if Tato changes anything here.
Yeah, I don't think he will. Right.
And Stee is first in with the changes. He blinks first, and he's kind of doing what we thought. Tony for Jorovic for Tony. RSC for Pizarro. Bojan AMC. Raul left SC. There we go. That makes perfect sense. Thank you very much, Stee. And Tato, if you just let us know, I'll give you a couple of minutes, mate, because I know the kids are a little bit restless at the minute, so you might be in the other room kind of bricking it that at 60 minutes. Swipe on for Vlahovic. And that's it, mate. Please, cheers. Lovely. Okay. Big half an hour. Yeah. Big half an hour for both of these sides. You think probably it feels as though one goal would be enough, but it doesn't look as though either side are going to get the goal. We get to 83 minutes. We slow it down. Great chance by Aymar, and he's probably further out the door after that, I think. Fermani, standout player for Badgers tonight. Joey Johnson pulling the shirt of Raul, and a free kick to White Rose. 3 minutes I've had it on time. Who can get this winner? Kaladze, Neville, back to Neville. Kaladze to Perry, to Kamuna. Tactical foul there from Kamuna, who's been an absolute beast. Kaladze again amongst it. Badgers retain possession. Stee Wright doesn't want to be bottom come the end of the night, but he'll need at least a point to try and get there. Casillas, fair shot, double save from Casillas. Samuel and Fermani get it clear. Here's Agahawa at the other end. It would be the absolute story of White Rose's season if Badgers were to go and win it at the other end, but they don't. A double save from Iker Casillas really late on gets Badgers the point, and actually match stats almost look identical, Dan.
Yeah, cancelled each other out, didn't they, in the end? But, so I think both might be quite happy with that secretly.
Yeah, I think Tato will probably be the happier of the two. I think, again, it's another game where White Rose looked, or 30 minutes at the start, looked on top, but actually just couldn't take chances. I mean, Iker Casillas is pulled off 2 worldies from Jordic at the end there. And just as Tato, we'll call him Mystic Tato, just as he said in his pre-match prediction, he said it was going to be boring, and boring it was. We're going to swerve Gazelles Burn because that's our last game. We're going to go to Coast versus Asta. Absolutely. And Dimble, who made the absolute pilgrimage, not to the East Coast, but to the kind of southeast coast to see Grimsby play Brighton today. And he goes like this. Honor Brugging goes onto the bench, despite having been a little bit of a talisman for Cosmos over the last couple of seasons. And Salva makes a start at AM with a little bit of a side arrow and a diagonal go into Anelka, which is a little bit different from last game, but actually the base of the squad and the base of the 11 that we've came to know from Cosmos is very, very similar. And over to Voodoo Savage. I said Rob Sloth was everybody's favourite, the second team. But I think for me, Aston are definitely taking that this season with their invention and their just batshit craziness, which I think we need more of in the league, to be fair. We have, for a number of games now, had a sweeper, which is as rare as a unicorn in the Super League. And we go with this kind of block in the middle of the pitch with Marcelo Salas up top. I know Mike was struggling IT wise as well. So, Mike, if you are in the comments and you are struggling or you're on a little bit of a delay, do let us know, mate. We've got a ghost game. We've got a ghost game. I think it's the first one that I've had, to be fair, in kind of streaming this. So apologies, Mike, and apologies, Dimble, although I'm guessing Dimble will be 50 pints to the good to even know it's a ghost game. So that does bring us to what should have been our headline game of this evening. Dan Haines' Spezial Gazelles against Ian Edwards' Northern Burn. Do you want to talk us through what you've done here tonight, Dan?
Yeah, so pretty much a normal formation. Me and Martin were talking the other day. It just seems that we play better with Adilson in at AMC, even though he doesn't get decent ratings. We get better results. We play better. So he's going back in at AMC. So
yeah,
but yeah, as we said, up and down all season. So.
I think one thing that probably I think you've looked better this season. I think you've looked more solid this season. But actually, just like last season, you're not kind of getting battered off teams. You know, when you are losing, it's only by kind of one goal ish. Which I think is definitely something to cling on to. Any kind of standout performances from that run that you kind of want to highlight, for better or for worse?
Where were we? Fulchester the other day, they should have beaten us. Absolutely should have beaten us. But yeah, we got the early goal and stuck on it. And like you said, we're not conceding many at the moment, which I don't know. I'm not sure because the one DMC, I'm not convinced that the one we've got is as good as other teams.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's going all right. But we'll see after 90 minutes today.
Yeah, and your opponents tonight, who this is something that I think has been really, really clear this season. Edwards was able to go as is 7 times, pretty much, like in terms of submissions, prior to this game, last game. This game, last game. 7 times being able to just go, yeah, as is. What a luxury that is. That is absolutely massive. Northern Burn, I think strongest side in the league, definitely the most dominant. Anything bar Sigalco at the top that stands out for you, or if you want to kind of wax lyrical about Sigalco?
Yeah, the thing to look at is the bench. Look at that. Every single one of them would probably start for other people. And the fact he went and did transfers at the end of the season after being so good last year and brought in even better. That's
it was
Beckham could be brilliant, and he's got him sat on the bench.
It was Fergie-esque, wasn't it? Strengthen whilst you're on top. Don't let them catch up to you, and keep building. Dan, I'm not going to ask you for a prediction here, as is tradition. But if you just let us know in the chat what you guys predict, I think you could get a point here, Dan. I think that midfield 3 needs to just try and get a hold of the ball and control it against the 2 MCs of Northern Burn. Looked to be a little bit Northern Burn pressure early doors, but a little bit more white and silver text. And there is Sigalco. Bartes looked to have spilt a shot. And there is 2. Barry Ferguson puts Northern Burn 2-0 up. Barry Ferguson, who didn't get a sniff until around game week 6 or 7, I think, and has maybe put some questions in the manager's mind, and that is a massive injury. Jeremy's is the spine of this team. Edwards, if you just let us know what you'd like to do there, my man. I'm guessing it'll probably just be David Beckham into MC, which is where he played before you brought Barry Ferguson in. So I'll just pop him in there. I haven't actually seen Edwards in the chat.
He was in right at the beginning, I think, but I haven't seen him since.
Yeah, he said Beckham.
Yeah, he said Beckham.
He said Beckham. Lovely. Excellent. Thank you very much, Edwards. I appreciate that, my man. And it's not a red, and we're nearly at half time, so we'll just go there. 2-0 down at half time, Dan, to a Burnside who've looked very, very clinical and very, very in control.
Yeah, very good side, didn't they? As expected for us, really, some average results. Might do a few changes just to mix it up a bit. I think 2 down might as well have a go.
I'll just flash Edwards' stats up, but I can probably predict how he's going to go, how he's not going to go. So we'll do your changes live, Dan, and if we kind of make a move on them, and we can see what you want to do here, bud.
We'll go Costa for Rivaldo, just as a swap, and we'll do a gap for Arca, and then switch him with Neville.
Neville, who's been very, very good for you this season.
Yeah, very good.
Is that it?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, we'll go with that.
Okay, Edwards goes as is, so we roll to 60 and see if Gazelles can get that second, or rather that first goal in response to Burns' 2-0 lead. A little bit of white and grey pressure, but again, they haven't took their chances, unlike Burn. We get to 60 minutes. Temudo can't take control of it, and Zielius is in there with the tackle doing what Zielius does best. Ratings there for you, Dan, mate, and match condition there. What I'll do is I'll just hop out and show Edwards's as well. If you can just have a think about what you might or might not want to do. Argyle making his debut tonight. Didn't pick that up ahead of the game kicking off, but he's on a 6 ahead of Iola. There's your condition, Edwards. You just let us know what you want to do. Dan, what you fancying there, mate?
So the Bajo's having quite a good game, but he's on the yellow. So can I swap him with Argas just to?
Anything arrows wise?
Just longer arrows on the wing backs, please. Just up to AMC. That's it. Cheers.
Martin asking where that Temudo hat trick was. Is he former Northern Burn player? Temudo as well? Yeah. Oh, that is a direct free kick from Mendieta, I think. Puts Gazelles back into the game out of absolutely nowhere. Mendieta with a foul, Arca, a lot of white and grey since those arrows have came on mind, but we know how clinical Northern Burn can be. Arca again, Temudo missed an easy chance, I think that said. That could have been a sucker punch for his former manager. We get to 80 minutes and we will slow this one down as we've made good time tonight. Segalko with a low drive, Barthez with a save. He parries this one out and not into the feet of the Belarusian. Temudo on the halfway line. Ferguson can't stop him. Temudo past Beckham, swerving shot, and that goes wide. Northern Burn have seen these sorts of games out so far this season, and it looks as though they might just be about to do it again this season. Nothing happens for the last 5 minutes, and that is really unlucky, Dan, because I think from 60 minutes onwards, he probably looked like the better side. In fact, the stats probably reflect that a little bit. But actually, Northern Burn again just looking ridiculously solid.
Yeah, very good, very good. As we said though before, not getting a hammering off anyone. You know, it was another tight game. Weren't in it until 60 and seemed to be a lot better. So.
Yeah, definitely. And Mendieta again, we know how massive. I think he's probably the only player that's off limits for you, regardless of what the offer would be.
Yeah, he makes us tick in there. The same as like we said about Adilson. If you know, he's just got to be on the pitch. So last season it was DMR, but it was just to get him on the pitch.
So as it stands, bearing in mind that the game thinks Coast have kicked off, they're on 19 points. If Asta could get something against Coast, then it would probably, for the first time this season, just open a little bit of a gap, really. And this, just for everybody, as a reminder, is how Asta go, and this is how Cosmos go with Salva in there for Brugink with that little kind of dancey BG's number staying alive. Predictions here, Dan?
East Coast 1-0. That seems to be their result.
1-0. It does seem to be their result. It's been their result for a long, long time, even going back. And there is an Elgar who puts them 1-0 up early doors. Eto with a chance, doesn't quite get it away. Taribo West playing sweeper, I think. I'm not sure if he's playing sweeper or the other centre half is. But there is Taribo West with a booking. Bit more 50-50 this than perhaps we would have expected. Ortega, who's been great for Cosmos on the right wing, with a late volley from Asta just going over the bar. That brings us to half time. Early goal for Coast, but not much in that, Dan.
No, it was pretty even, wasn't it? Coast will be happy. That's exactly what they do. So
it is, and I think they probably do it the best out of everybody in the league, really, in terms of going 1-0 up and kind of seeing games out. There's Asta's kind of stats at half time. Not really being outdone in any area of the pitch. They just haven't had a clinical chance to put it in the back of the net. I really like Marcelo Salas. I would love to see him get a run. But I know that Savage has got probably 3 or 4 strikers he loves. The cult hero of Michael Bridges in there. Australia's national hero. Would you be doing anything here if you were Savage?
Yeah, he might. I wonder if he'll swap the strikers. Like you say, though, I like Salas as well. When I saw he was in the reserves the other day, I was straight on him, but he was having none of it. So.
Yeah, I think Perez has been really good for him this season as well, but I think he's been playing kind of on either of the wings. What I say in Duggan's mandatory, please love me, Dimble shows. Yeah, I've got Dimble issues, mate, not daddy issues. I think he's amazing. Would you kind of be tempted to put some width in there maybe and just create a little bit more?
Yeah, he's got Locatelli's an interesting one, isn't he? It's not a player that I bought that many times. Playing centre mid as well. Not sure on that.
Savage going as is till 60. Dimble isn't here, so we will crack on. Thank you, Savage, mate. Petkov and Ortega both involved. Header from Henry, clearance from Milevski. And here is Asta going up the other side. We get to 60 minutes, free kick, and Toldo saves that easily. Van Bommel struggling there in the centre of the pitch with the skipper's armband, as well as Locatelli. So Mark Kerr is kind of doing a number on those two bigger boys, really.
Van Bommel's an interesting one, isn't he? He should be amazing, but he just never is. Just never is.
Yeah, and I think in terms of Super League pedigree, which I know kind of we talk about a lot, I remember him being at Hools and not being very good. He was at Bostock for a while and wasn't great. Can't remember where else he's been. I think Steve might have had him for a little bit, but he's never been in that kind of Vieira minus kind of bracket or like Ndiaye minus bracket with Zielius and Jeremies and all that sort of stuff. Savage is going to be doing some pretty comprehensive changes here, so we'll just bring Dimble's stats up at this point, just so he knows where he was at in the game, for better or for worse. Mark Kerr couldn't do a number on a fucking calculator. Yeah, Edwards, where's he been? So I think he's been at Bostock, I think he was at White Rose, and I think he's been at Hools. Where else has he been other than this? Edwards and Fifey are like the oracles of Super League history, really. Sit and listen to them all night. Here we go. Dan, can you read these as we go? Can you see Savage's comment?
So Etu to MC, Salas to AMC, Perez and Edmundo off for Inzaghi and Bridges. Edge and Bridges, yep. To SC.
Ed and Bridges to SC. Ed.
Says Ed and Bridges, yeah. It must mean Inzaghi.
Well, Ed and Bridges to SC, yeah, because Inzaghi's came on for Edmundo, yeah. Savage, if you can just confirm that, mate, just with it being a non-conventional kind of tactic, mate. I don't want to get that badly wrong. If you can just let me know if that. As he said, yeah. Lovely, excellent. Cheers, Savage. And let's see where we're at in terms of the last 25 minutes. Chances for Coast again. Ortega back involved with it. Ortega puts it wide. Petkov now, and there is the second goal, and that is probably all she wrote in terms of the context of the game. To be honest, we jumped to 88 minutes. We'll not slow it down. Yellow card there for Hoffland. Bridges amongst it, and East Coast doing what East Coast do, and winning 2 with a clean sheet. Dan.
Yeah, solid again, weren't they? Yeah. Petkov, very good.
Petkov in the absence of Volodenkov, who I think Dimble himself has said is out for a while, but he's a bit of a talisman for Cosmos, so he's definitely doing his job in there. Vogel again, someone who Dimble absolutely loves, and I know a lot of the league do, putting the tackles and putting himself about. And Steve Wright just beat me to the punch there and said that Henry's been great this season. I've never been massively sold on him as an AMC. He was great for Bern, and he's doing the same again for Cosmos. Asta, they seem to have, every couple of games, some big players in key positions. Roy Keane with a 5 from DMC. That's a little bit nuts, that. When was the last time you seen him put a 5 in DM? Anything there for Savage to kind of really think long and hard about?
Yeah, like I say, the Roy Keane 5, it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because he's got G and Cheddar next to him. I wonder if Keane's better on his own in there, not getting in the way. He's good enough to play there.
Dragons played him at MC last season rather than DM when we got slated for it, but he was miles better in MC than he was at DM. And that brings us in really, really good time for a Sunday night to your classifieds. So Badgers and White Rose at the top of the tape there, but actually the lowest of the low in terms of the game had a dull and boring nils each. Dragons with 10 men with another Nesta red card, beat Bostock Stanley 4-1, which is a massive result for us. Coast, as we've just seen, did what they do best and beat Astor 2-0 with no reply. Northern Burn edged Gazelles, but looked in control for the majority of the game, I think we'd say, with the Jeremy's injuries, which could be massive for Northern Burn. Other than Segalco, he probably is their most important player. Vikings and Haggis. Haggis, I think, with the performance of the night, really looked in control and looked threatening. And Moroso had a goal disallowed for offsides to get his hat-trick. And PPP, a huge win in terms of narrative, I think, and really probably does pose Ryan some questions about how he sets up from here on in, given that they were on a poor run of form and they won 2-1. And then the most interesting result of the night, Dan, would you say?
Yeah, I think, as we said, Greavesy that'll be it for him now, won't it? That's absolutely his game. 1-0, stopped them. He'll be happy with that.
Yeah, if he does nothing else this season, we'll not hear the end of that, to be fair, from Greavesy. So that leaves the league table looking like this. Northern Burn resume their game week 11 atop of the table. It will take some performance from the rest of the league to dethrone them from there. Coast, as they were at the end of game week 26 last season, are in second with 22 points. Hot on their tails is Haggis in third. That looked to be, for me, the best of the rest at the minute on 18 points. Gazelles then still find themselves in fourth. You haven't moved despite being beat 2-1. On 15 points. Badgers picking up the points as they go without the performances to go with it on 14 points into fifth. Tato will have a nosebleed. It's unfamiliar territory for him. Vikings, we'll probably see a fuck off and a redraft shout from Jens, but actually still find themselves in sixth with 13 points. Casuals dropping just ever so slightly now out of the sixth and on to 13 points. PPP 13 points and Fulchester on 13 points. Who'd have thought, given where we were after game week 4, that PPP would sit on the same points as Casuals and Fulchester, sandwiched between them on goal difference. Dragons' big win for them tonight puts them above Bostock Stanley, and you can clearly see where the issues have been for Dragons. They score for fun, but they also concede as if it's a charity football match as well. Bostock find themselves in 11th on 12 points, joint with Dragons. Astor struggling for points, but actually still see themselves ahead of Tortiga Celtics in 13th on 9 points, and White Rose, who do find themselves rooted at the bottom of the league, on 8 points with just the one win so far this season. In terms of fixtures, next week it's me versus you on Wednesday night, Dan. I think you've got a pretty horrific record against us, to be fair, mate, haven't you?
Yeah, you know exactly. We talked about it, didn't we, end of last season when you absolutely done us in the playoffs. We talked about how you know how to beat us. Perhaps I do something different, but then if I do and we lose anyway, well, I think why didn't I just stick to what I'm doing? So,
I'm really looking forward to that for exactly the same reason, because I think we were fairly transparent with each other last year in terms of tactics and stuff and what we were trying to do against you. So it'll be interesting that we have Astor against Fulchester, Coast against Celtic, Northern Burn against PPP, Vikings against Badgers, and Casuals against Haggis, and White Rose against Bostock Stanley. Nothing really jumping out in terms of the fixtures there, but I think every fixture has something in it at this time of the season. Team of the week there for anybody that's interested for the last round of fixtures. For this round of fixtures, Lizarazu was in there, Mendieta's in there with his goal, Anelka and Henri and Petkov, and no surprise that Helgera and Okoronkwo were in there for Haggis. In terms of what do we look at here, let's have a little look at player stats. Average rating, Kabakaladze, his team might not be doing well, but they sit atop of the rating with Cambiasso. A lot of DMCs in there. That's why they're so highly sought after. I think most dominant position in the league, really. Segalco, Candea, Cannavaro, Amoroso, all the names we've really seen this season in terms of being important. Anyone standing out for you there, Dan?
Fabian Barthez there and no Vestaval, so we'll talk to Ian.
Steady on, mate. Steady on. In terms
of that, like you say, strong DMCs.
Look at that, Janet Cheddar. We just spoke about him being alongside Roy Keane, but actually he's putting in the most tackles per game of the whole league. In terms of goals, Maxim Segalco doing what he does best. He's now averaging above a goal a game, having scored 12 in 10 game weeks. Constantinu and Penza, Vieri and Clivert chasing his tail. Clivert's definitely dried up over the last few weeks after going on a bit of a body run. Red cards. Where's the red cards? We wanted to see that, didn't we? Yeah, that was Dakor's third red card of the season, head and shoulders above everybody else. I thought Nesta had more than one, but actually it must be yellows that he's picked up. There he is, lo and behold. Yeah. Nesta with 7, Roy Keane with 7, and Dakor with 7 as well. Anything else you want to kind of stay right? How many points did Dragons have after 10? We had 4 points after 10 games last season, Steve, which just is absolutely mad when you say it out loud. Pass completion. Anything else, Dan?
No, it's good. That's good.
Packs will be out straight away. Be with you within the next kind of half an hour, 40 minutes. Dan, thank you very much for your company tonight, mate. Really, really do appreciate the effort when anyone jumps on a Sunday night, because it's a bit touch and go with work and stuff. So thank you very much, Dan. And thanks very much for tuning in, guys. And Packs will be out straight away. And it'll be back to Mr. Phoenix, who might have a bit of a sore backside after that Rob Sloth bumming, but he'll be live with you from about 9:30 on Wednesday night. For now, from Super League HQ and Game Week 10, it's good night.
Good night, all.